Hello and welcome to my channel, Making Crafts. Today I'm going to do a quick video on how I create ruffles using ribbon or sometimes fabric, but you do it the same. Today I'm going to be using ribbon, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the project. So I have my camera set up so you can see the sewing machine. So what I've done is just folded back my ribbon to get the pleat started or get the gather started. And this is just how I do it. I also use a zigzag stitch down the middle. Sometimes I use a straight stitch, but today I'm using a small zigzag stitch. I have also lowered the tension on my sewing machine. So normally this sewing machine is used for paper, and so I have my tension around a 7. But since I'm just using it on fabric, I went back down to a 4. So now you can see how I am ruffling the fabric. I'm just folding it over itself and then stitching it down. So you can use your fingers, or I'm showing you here, you can use a tool of any sort that will help you to do this. So this is my awl that I use to punch the holes in my journals when I'm sewing them up. Now, I didn't have any trouble with my awl poking through my ribbon or poking me when I'm doing this, but if you find that it's getting in the way that sharp point is, find something more dull just to push your ribbon up with. Now this ribbon is a very thin, very soft ribbon. It's a very silky feeling, and so I was a little nervous when I got it because I wasn't really sure how it was going to work sewing it. Sometimes thin things are really hard to sew, but this really ruffled good. I love how it turned out, and it was really simple to use. You just have to go slow. So I did not speed up the video creating this ribbon because I wanted you to see the actual process and how long it can take. So don't rush through. Don't feel like you have to fly through making these ruffles. Enjoy the process, cut on some Christmas music, and just enjoy an afternoon of making ruffles. So these ruffles, you can see this is real time. It really doesn't take that long, but you do want to go slow with it, especially if you're new at this, and take your time. I'm trying to stitch down the center, but I'm honestly not worrying if I get over a little bit. It's not going to matter. But I'm just eyeballing the center and trying to stay down the center, but I am not being precise. And I still think they turned out beautiful without being precise. And so when I fold the ribbon up, I'm not being exact either how much I fold up. I'm just eyeballing what I think looks good. And you'll see me stop every so often and look behind my sewing machine. And the reason for that is I'm just looking to see how the ruffle is looking, how it's coming along, make sure that it is looking the way I want it to look and that nothing looks out of place or like that I'm not messing up. Because you don't want to get to the very end of your ribbon and realize that you've either didn't have a bobbin in and it didn't sew, or your pleats are not looking right. So I just stop every so often and look at it to make sure. But really, these are simple to do. This is even simple for a beginner. Just like I said, you're going to have to take your time and go slow. And if your ruffles are different sizes and different shapes, don't worry about it, because it's going to go into a junk journal, and the more practice you do, the better they're going to look. And so I really enjoy this process of sewing these ruffles. And so I just wanted to show you slowly how I sewed this ribbon. And this ribbon came from the Rubber Buggy, so I will link below. All 3 of these ribbons came from the Rubber Buggy. I had never tried them before, but I was thrilled with them once I got to sewing them. When I received them, I was a little nervous that this thin ribbon would not sew well, but it did really well. Now, I think it would be important, because it is so thin, to lower your tension on your sewing machine. So now I'm coming back in with a different ribbon that I got from the Rubber Buggy. Now this one is more stiff. It has wire edges, and it feels more like a canvas or duck cloth or something down the center, so it's a very stiff ribbon. So I wanted to show you both styles of ribbon and how I'm pleating them, because it comes out different. It looks a little different, and the process is a little different. So you see with this one, I'm trying to use my tool to help me fold it back, but this one is just such a stiff fabric that it's not as easy to use the tool and push it up. So I find that it's easier just to use my fingers and fold it over. And if you notice, these pleats are larger, and that's just due to the fact that this fabric is a lot thicker and a lot stiffer, and you've got the wire there. So it's not as flimsy and as easy to just bunch up. But I still love how these ruffles turned out. They look more like pleats, but I love how this one turned out as well. You get a different look depending on the texture of the fabric. Now, a good fabric to start with as well is to try just cutting strips or ripping down strips of cotton fabric, quilting fabric, and then doing this and creating pleats and ruffles with it. And that was how I started making the ruffles, was just using the cotton fabric, something that was easy to maneuver, wasn't too flimsy and wasn't too thick. And that's how I began making my ruffles, and now I've just moved on to whatever I decide I want to make ruffles out of. And so I am doing this one is in real time as well. I have not sped anything up. And so you can see it goes along fairly quickly, but you do need to take your time. Don't try to rush through. You know, so as you can see, I'm folding it, I stitch it down, then I go back to my ribbon and I fold it up again and then stitch it down. And there's no need to rush through it. So I'm going to do the whole length of this ribbon to show you how I create it. And then if you've not seen the video where I use these in the journal, I know I linked to it in that video, this video, and so you may be coming from the journal video, but if not, you'll be able to see in my journal video how I use these on my journal pages. And so I will put a link below to that video. This video will be coming out first, and so if you don't see that video when you watch this one, be sure to come back in a couple of days and it will be available for you to see how I use these ribbons. So now I'm going to kind of speed up the process. This ribbon is really flimsy as well, but I absolutely love how this one turned out. Because of the flimsiness of the ribbon, it really gives a nice ruffle to this one. So I am going to speed up the video and just show you how I sew this one. This one is pretty much the same as the first ribbon. They are a lot alike. I would say this one may be just a little bit more flimsy, and so you have to take your time with it. And as you can see, where it is more flimsy, I'm making smaller ruffles with it, but I thought it turned out gorgeous when I got done. And so for all three of these, I am just using a zigzag stitch, and I'm using a very small zigzag stitch. It's very small in that it's close together, the zigzags are, but also in the height of the zigzags, they're very short. And so in the end, you'll get to see how it looks and what size zigzag I'm using. And so here I'm just speeding up, but don't try to go this fast with it. You have to be very careful, and be careful with your awl if you use it, that you don't poke through your ribbon. So here are the completed ribbons, and you can look down the center of them and see that I used a really small zigzag stitch, but you can use a straight stitch if you wanted. Also, you'll see the more you gather them up, the shorter it does get. But I really love how these turned out, and I really think that they're going to look really good with the paper that I chose for my journal. So here's the paper, and I'm just going to show you here. I'll just be adding them to the edge of some of my pages. It will vary which ones I use on which page, but you will be able to see that in the video where I show you how I add my journal pages and how I choose my pages and how I add the ribbon. And so that will be coming up in a couple of days if you're watching this video when it first comes out, or if this video has been out for a week, that video should be available. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.